All right, welcome back to another review of the Falcon and Winter Soldier, episode 4. The whole world is watching. I gotta say that after the second episode, this is now my second favorite episode of the series. It's not saying that much because we've only got 4 so far. Oh, can't believe we only have 2 left. There's a lot to talk about, obviously. So this is a spoiler review. So we're gonna go break down the episode. So if you haven't watched it, turn on your Disney Plus, watch it, come back, and let's break it down. So across the pond, Bogz, how you doing today?
Yeah, well, good. Loving this series. This is, I think, probably for me the darkest episode so far. So getting into that kind of character development and a deeper dive into their kind of motivations and things like that. So yeah, it was really cool. But yeah, man, all good apart from that. So yeah, how are you?
Darkest episode indeed. I think that's saying it lightly. Aisha, how you going? How you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. It's Sunday. It's sunny outside. I'm ready to break down the show. It's like, woof, that ending, man. I was like, am I watching Disney right now? Am I watching Disney? What's going on? Because this reminded me of The Boys a little bit, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, a little bit. Otherwise, a little bit more graphic if it was the boys, but definitely boys vibes.
Graphic.
Yes. Soul, how's it going?
Going good. I'm just enjoying this series so much. I know that I said way past in another video, go check it out, where I was like, WandaVision's my most anticipated Disney Plus MCU thing. Right now, I'm liking this more than WandaVision. I know Boggs is happy about that because he didn't like WandaVision.
I mean, it's just different than WandaVision. I could appreciate WandaVision for what it is and what it turned into, and I'm appreciating Falcon and Winter Soldier for what it is and what it's slowly turning into. So, it's just like, steak or lobster or whatever you want to, like whatever your 2 favorite foods are, or pasta. It's like I can love each, but for different reasons. So that's where I'm at. So let's just dive right in. So the opening scene, we start in at Wakanda with Bucky and Io 6 years ago, with Bucky still not sure exactly if they gotten the Winter Soldier brainwash out of him, and Io is just like, trust me, we got it. She starts saying the words, and you can just see on his face that he's not 100% sure what's going to happen. He's like really afraid that he's gonna just go buck wild and start killing everybody. And she's like, don't worry, relax, we got you, we won't let you do anything. And she keeps saying the words. You can just see the frustration, the fear on his face. And then when she gets through all of them, he realizes that nothing's happened and that he's cured. And I just think like that's, I'm glad that they opened with this, because obviously the last episode they ended with Io and him having that little standoff. I like that they're showing us their relationship of how she played a pivotal part in getting the Winter Soldier brainwash out of him. So I love that they opened with that, because it's just like you ladies were saying like last week that this is Bucky's show. It kind of is in a way, and I just love the fact that we're getting a lot more backstory with him. So Aisha, I'll start with you. What that opening scene? What'd you get out of that?
I really enjoyed this opening scene. This is one of my favorite scenes out of the whole series. Sebastian Stan, he knocked it out of the park with his acting. I mean, man, if you didn't feel for the guy after this, I question your humanity, because, I just really felt for him. And it also connected the fact that he still remembers some of the things that he did. He still remembers, these. Zemo was saying in the past episode, hey, I'm in this jail. I remember these full 5 years. You were in a trance. You don't remember what you did. Actually, he does remember what he did, and it's affecting him very heavily. So when he started breaking down after AO said that you're free, it was going back to, hey, that was that moment of peace. Like, he's crying not because he was upset or he was sad. He's crying because he's finally free. So I just thought it was a wonderful scene. And like I said, Sebastian Stan killed it in the scene. So I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, he sure did. His performance in it was great. Even though like it's always these little quiet moments that I think that the shows benefit from the movies, because maybe in a movie, if this was a movie, maybe we wouldn't get this scene. But because they might just talk about it, not show it. But I'm glad that we saw it. Boggs, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think just this scene set the tone of the episode, really, which obviously continued on from episode 3 with the kind of the reveal at the end and stuff. But yeah, it just like his acting just is. I think he just gets the opportunity to get his teeth stuck into just the more emotional kind of aspects of his story as opposed to maybe Sam's stuff. So his emotional stuff is different. But yeah, like even like I loved it. It made me want to like watch more of Sebastian Stan. Watching this scene, like I haven't seen I, Tonya yet, so that's another movie I need to watch. And just other movies, I checked his IMDb afterwards. I thought, yeah, I need to watch some of it. And even the scene a bit later on when I think Zemo's bringing him the tea, and he kind of picks it up off him and just throws it against the wall. Like I just love like that. So one at the start he's crying, and 5-10 minutes later he's wants to smash kind of Zemo's face in. So yeah, just the range of emotions he shows every episode. Yeah, 100% agree. He's my favorite part of Falcon Winter Soldier, Sebastian Stan. So yeah, I love his acting overall.
Well, I think he has the most interesting backstory because of of his past and how it's kind of haunted him. It's funny. I want to see more of his past, but I want to see more of Sam's future. It's interesting dynamic how this show is kind of playing out. Sol, your thoughts?
Yeah, I have to echo that Sebastian Stan, just like his acting prowess, like everything that he said with just his face. I legitimately, I was tearing up. I was so emotional in that scene. And the fact too, you think about the time, like how much of that time since he knew he could no longer be affected by those words. And then when he was given his arm to be like, okay, time to fight now. So I don't think it was that long. It could have been a few weeks, maybe a month. And so he just had that small moment of peace. And the fact too, the relationship between him and Io, we see it now, called him White Wolf last episode, called him White Wolf in this scene. We see him a little later, not call him White Wolf, call him James. And so you see that trust there at the beginning too. And it's just one Dora Milaje. He's a super soldier, and he trusts her so much to not have him, to make sure he doesn't hurt anyone. And so that just shows how powerful, which we all know, but really how powerful the Dora Milaje are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like, hey, just give me a little bit of time. He's almost like reasoning. He's almost like, I'm afraid of what you're going to do. So she gives him 8 hours. She leaves. He goes back to talk to Zemo and Sam. And you could easily pull the same trope of which a lot of shows have done, where Bucky could have kept that information to himself, and then it became an issue later on. But he just comes in and says, "No, Dora Milaje are here. They want Zemo. I bought us some time." And then Zemo's like, "Oh, I'm glad you stuck around." He's like, "Shut up." And then they start having this conversation about Carly and about the serum and what it actually does to you and an effect it might have, and that serum naturally will start to corrupt people about once you take it. And I think that's a lot of the conversation about this episode, specifically about the serum and what it will do to the person who takes it. So Zemo kind of starts that conversation here, and then he's like, it corrupts everybody. And then Bucky's like, well, it didn't corrupt Captain America. He's like, yeah, well, there's never been another Captain America. So I love the fact that they've kind of had this conversation and kind of setting up exactly what's going to happen in this episode. So Aisha, I'll start with you about what do you think about this conversation that Sam, Bucky, and Zemo are having about Carly and about the serum once Bucky comes back in.
This was very interesting when, Zemo said, when you have the desire to become a superhero, this desire to want it, that's when you get corrupt. Absolutely. That's when it transitions to being, supremacy. So I think that's the difference, is that Sam made it clear, if I was offered the serum, I wouldn't take it. I don't have the desire. Just like with Bucky didn't have the desire to give him the powers that he was given. He was forced into it. And then we see later on, there's someone who has the desire to have the serum.
Yep.
Harley had the desire to take the serum, and you see how she's getting corrupted. So he kind of puts Nazis, Ultron, the Avengers all into one box, and that's how Zemo sees it. and they're bringing him back saying, no, listen, there's differences here. We're not Nazis. We're the Avengers. So it was interesting because it switches over to Sam when Zemo said, yeah, the only guy who didn't take it was Captain America, or who didn't take it far was Captain America, and then it switches over to Sam. So maybe this is some foreshadowing. I'm not really for sure. I still have my thoughts on if Sam's going to take up the mantle or not, but we'll talk about that later. But I thought this was very interesting.
Yeah, I do love and I love the fact that they threw in, he like you said, Zemo's like, oh, Nazis, Avengers, Ultron, all the same, and he's like, and then Sam's like, that's our friends. He's like, I mean the Avengers, not Nazis. Nazis are not our friends. So your thoughts about that conversation between the three of them?
This episode was definitely the episode for the brainiac people, for the philosophy people, like just so many different types of philosophies. Definitely going into the all power corrupts, absolutely. That's where Zemo's coming from. And then you also have the later scene where it's like, oh, no super soldiers should exist. And then Sam going, well, isn't that the way gods speak? You're saying they're gods, but you're becoming what you hate at the same time. So there's that. You either die a hero or become or live long enough to become the villain. There's that philosophy there. There's also the philosophy of the best leaders are the ones who don't want it. And so Sam didn't want it, and kind of in the sense too that like Bucky didn't want the serum. Cap, we can argue that he didn't really know enough about what the serum was going to do to him to decide whether he wanted it or not. And so in a sense, a lot of these better heroes are the ones who become heroes out of necessity and not becoming heroes because they want to be heroes. So that's kind of like the difference between Carly, the difference between John Walker, and then you have Bucky and Sam.
Yeah, because we have to remember, Cap didn't want the serum; he was chosen to take it. He didn't ask for it; he was chosen. So I think there's a difference there between Bucky given the serum. Cap was chosen to give the serum. Carly took the serum, and obviously we'll get to John Walker in a little bit. But Bogz, your thoughts about that conversation between the three of them?
Yeah, definitely interesting kind of dialogue where. Basically, yeah, referencing Cap, him not being corrupted. I think that's just a kind of nod as well to say like because he had the heart for it. He was like the chosen one, or he was worthy, basically, right? And if you're not worthy, it can corrupt you. Mm. And that's from two different sides as well. So obviously Zemo's side saying, or his point of view is that, without, this will corrupt you. These will be, it's like a supremacy kind of thing with these super soldiers, superheroes, even Avengers. But that's on the complete kind of opposite with Carly, where, she's using the serum to, in her point of view, help the kind of underprivileged or help the people that are being mistreated. So kind of creating sympathy on both sides. And I think that's just the overall story arc of this whole series is, just people's like that blurring the lines between people's kind of point of views. And obviously we see the whole thing with authority as well, which obviously we'll come to later. They're blurring the line there where who you can trust, who you can't trust, or different points of views that kind of Bucky and Sam have to solve each storyline. So yeah, and this is kind of this part of the episode was like they from here I think they left the humor from this point onwards. They left like the buddy cop stuff, although they did continue a little bit with Zemo and stuff, but they kind of left it there, and they left the kind of espionage adventure type stuff, and it got into like I said, a lot darker a lot more political and things like that. So you got into the character motivations and things like that after this, so which I really liked. And it was the same John Wick writer as well, so even though there was less action in this episode, but I did find that interesting.
Yeah, but it was more. But I appreciated the not as much action because we got a lot more character development for especially
like serious
Walker.
subject matters.
Yeah,
like
I think this is Walker's
to.
The most important episode we've seen John Walker in so far. And I'm sad we didn't get more of this, but they released an hour-long version of that, which was
got the Zemo.
I was like, I'm glad Disney's just winking with us. It's like, all right, you want that, you got it, and it was like,
oh my God.
I watched it. It's funny. But anyway, so we cut from them having that discussion to the Flag Smashers, and then there's an announcement that GRC is pretty much after they bombed that building. So there's consequences of what they did. They're pretty much going to pass the what was it called, the Patch Act, where they're pretty much going to kind of go back to the way things were before the blip, where we're going to have borders, we're going to have all these things, and you could just see her frustration about like, oh my God, did we go too far? Because now look at the consequences that we have to meet now, and the sense that you can see Carly kind of questioning her decision and her leadership style. And then we get Sam and Bucky and Zemo trying to get information about where the funeral is going to be, and you can see how Sam is kind of going through the building and mentioning, do they know what is her name again? Mama
Donia.
Donia, yeah,
Donia.
like, do you know her? And then they're like, yeah, we don't want to talk to you. You can see he's getting the cold soldier, but Zemo, which you could just tell he has a different way of approaching things, goes to a child with a Turkish delight, and then he gets the information that he wants, and they're like, well, and then you can see Sam and Bucky are just like, we struck out, but Zemo didn't, because he approaches things a lot differently. That's why I like having the three of them together, because you can see all three of them have different approaches to try to get the information, but Zemo's obviously is the one that worked. So Aisha, your thoughts about having that all interaction there?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting with Nico pretty much saying that, hey, he looked up to Captain America. Like, he looked up to this shield and this symbol. And he even says, hey, Carly, like, this could have been you. Like, you could have been a Captain America, you know? And so I think it's, especially with how this ended, I think it's very interesting and a little bit poetic as to him looking up to, Captain as some type of symbol of hope. And then, of course, how that leads, how that comes together at the end of the show. So I thought that was interesting. And then you have Zemo over here, Turkish Delight. You know, it brought me back to when I was a child. I read the line, The Witch in the Wardrobe, and you have the White Witch, bringing the Turkish Delight to Edmund, and he pretty much goes against his own brother and sister, you know, over this candy. And I always thought to myself, like, man, like, this candy must be bomb. Like, for you to go,
girl, same, literally same.
like, for you to go against your own brother and sister, like, this must be some bomb candy, you know. And then, of course, Zemo reveals the fact that this is his son's favorite candy, you know, so he offers it to the little girl. She gives him the information that he's needed, and then he offers it to Sam later on. So it's kind of like, you know, he's kind of looking at Sam as someone that he might have a connection with. I think he holds Sam to a higher level than all the other players going on in this show. So I'm interested to see, you know, how that's gonna work itself out in these last two episodes. But yeah, I think it was very interesting, like you said, Sean, seeing the three different ways of getting to this one conclusion of where are they holding this funeral. So I thought it was great. Again, it showed a different part of Zemo, and it's making us remember that, hey, the reason why all this started is because his family was killed. You know, so it's reminding us that, you know, he hasn't forgot, and we can't forget, you know, that he's not the good guy. So don't take this and think that, hey, Zemo's on our side. Like, Zemo has a plan, and we're gonna find out what that plan is by the end of the series.
Yeah, he has his own motivation, his own way of doing things, and it just goes back to don't take candy from strangers. But it looks like that grandma candy that just like your grandmother gives you. It's like that hard candy. It's like, usually that's not that good, but he made it sound like, yo, this is the bomb candy. Like, you kids better, your kids are, you know what you're gonna get with this kind of stuff, and they just was like, yay, candy. So
you guys ever had Turkish Delight, by the way?
No.
I've had it all my life. Just
so that's what it's actually called?
Yeah, it's Turkish Delight. Yeah, they're like little. It's like I don't know. They're like really, really soft. They're like jelly babies, but like a square shape.
It's a soft.
If that makes sense. Yeah, it's really
like
soft. And it has like a. No. So it's like gelatine. That's what it tastes like, and it's like a square thing with like powder around it. So flavored powder, and it's really like not that nice, to be honest. I know personally people absolutely love it.
Very good.
Yeah, it's a particular. They're called like old people sweets, like
That's
you know,
what
like originals. Yeah, that kind of thing. So people love them, I guess. But yeah, I've grown up on them, so I don't really.
Interesting.
eat
Yeah,
them
but those
anymore,
kids,
but-
you know, considering those kids probably haven't had candy in a while, they were just like,
Yeah.
yeah, candy, give me, you know.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
so your thoughts on the GRC announcement, and then Carly, and then Sam, Bucky, and Zemo trying to get the information about the funeral.
So I agree with you. I literally got Chronicles of Narnia like moments there with the Turkish delight, and I agree. I was just like, this must be the most delicious candy ever, since it's got Edmund. It got so, and then I hear from other people that it's actually not very good, and I'm just like, why do they keep using this candy then if it's not very good? But I do very much enjoy the Flag Smashers, and one thing I do appreciate of this show is that it's giving each character a sympathetic moment, whether they're villains or not. However, you do see the cuts. You see the cuts with the Flag Smasher. You kind of see like there's a little bit more that was there that they took out. Obviously, we know because of the behind the scenes, they had a storyline that was too close to COVID, to a global pandemic kind of thing, and they had to take that away. I assume that's one of the things of why Mama Donia passed away, is because of that. And so we got Mama Donia's story kind of really cut out of this, not less of her, less of the Flag Smashers. You have like AR basically happening where like you could tell that they said something different, but they had to come back in and say a different line. So it's hard not to notice those cuts with the Flag Smashers. However, like I've really, really enjoyed this episode, and I just enjoy all the machinations that happen between all of them, and the fact too that I agree with you, Aisha, that Zemo looks at Sam a little differently, especially after he immediately answered going, no, I wouldn't take the serum. And that basically tells him, oh, maybe he could be like Cap if he were to have had the serum. But I think that makes him so much more special, is because he could be a Cap without the serum. We've seen him kick ass, and he's part of the Avengers. He should be the next Cap.
Yeah, and I think you two are right. He does look at him a little bit differently, and he talks to him differently as well, in terms of like, hey, you might need to kill Carly, just reminding him of like all these things that hey Sam, you may. He's not telling Bucky, he's not telling them, he's telling Sam, because Sam is the virtuous one. He's the light at this point. I think Zemo's just kind of testing him and kind of poking him to kind of see where his mind is in terms of all these things about Carly and about the serum and things like that. And we'll get more about that scene when he actually does say, hey, would you have taken it? We'll get there. But Bogz, your thoughts about the GRC and the conversation that they had?
So yeah, I did like the way that they each of them were trying to get their own different answers and stuff. So that was cool, like, you know, a little bit like a maze type thing, and each going in different direction. So with as well with the Turkish delight stuff, I'm pretty sure it's really old. Like it's a sweet from like hundreds and hundreds of years old. Like I'm sure it's like 400 or 500 years old. So there's like history to it and stuff. So I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure it has some kind of relevance, but I don't remember. But yeah, I think that's the thing with it. So there's like a legacy to it. It's like passed around Europe and stuff. But anyway, with the Flag Smashers, you know, I did say last episode, I'm not totally on board with them yet. In terms of, I understand what's going on, but their scenes aren't the best for me in the whole series. So I kind of want their stuff to get over with. So I want to hear the other guys. So, and it didn't really change too much. So I think a little bit it did. Like I do like them a little bit more, but overall, I mean, when they were talking about the GRC stuff, you know, we haven't seen that stuff. So, we saw what Carly was discussing, that, okay, they're withholding, you know, food and things like that. But we don't actually, because we haven't had the backstory with the GRC stuff. So, like, I didn't really know what causes Carly to do, you know, since the blip, like, what has the GRC done to kind of mishandle people or to warrant Carly's actions, and you know, because she did reference like their mishandling of power and stuff, but we don't actually know what that is. So I would have liked a little bit of backstory for me to be a little bit more invested in that. But yeah, they didn't cover too much time on that, so that's fair. But yeah, I was just a side note. I was like, oh, I don't really know what they've done. So yeah, so I'm not massively into the Flag Smashers still, to be honest with you. It's more the kind of heroes and villains I'm I'm more interested.
But it also goes back to what Sol was saying, is that a lot of some stuff had to be cut out, and maybe some of the backstory that you're wanting got cut out because it's coming too close to COVID stuff. But me personally, I kind of like their story more this way, because the show is really not about them, and I still personally think Carly's not getting out of this series. But because they serve a purpose of just showing Sam a different way of looking at things. And I think that's their main purpose at this point in the show, just to give Sam a different viewpoint of like, hey, you're a hero, but here's where I'm coming from, and I just need you to kind of understand. I think he kind of does and starts sympathizing with him from what I can tell. So going from there, Sam calls Sharon, and she doesn't have an iPhone, so that could mean that she's the villain, but we'll get to that. And then kind of just is like, well, just I need you to keep an eye out on things. And then we cut back to Carly, and then they show us where she's hid the serum, and they start having this discussion about like, should we increase our numbers? And the guy is pretty much saying that he was a fan of Captain America, that he kind of envisions Carly to be like the next Cap. Because like before the blip, it was the lines were kind of very black and white, good guys, bad guys. But now they kind of live in a world where everything is gray, and Carly kind of brings up that shield represents the past. It doesn't really represent what's happening here and now. So I love that this kind of debate about Cap's legacy. Again, Cap, even though he's not in the show so far, he's looming over it, and his legacy and that shield is being brought up by everybody. And the fact that she's like, I just want to destroy it, I just want to get rid of it, because it is a symbol of the past. And she kind of does realize that going forward, that symbol needs to go away for their cause to really move forward. So she does recognize that, but she's not quite sure exactly how to go about it. So that's a good conversation to go. But Sol, your thoughts about Sam asking Sharon for another favor, and then Carly having this discussion about the serum and about Cap and the shield.
Well, basically, Carly says the same thing that Sam said on the jet with Bucky the episode before. And you see later on in this episode that Sam and Carly are very much on the same playing field, just that they're going about it in different ways. And that shows you great storytelling. When you have two characters who agree with one another, who want to see the world in the same way, the one goes about it in a virtuous way and another goes about it in a somewhat villainous way. And you could see too that like Carly is becoming a little bit more villainous, because I think the Flag Smashers, they have good intentions. They started out really helping people, but once she blew up that the GRC, once she's starting to get, when we see her later threaten Sam's sister, kind of those tactics, those aren't tactics done by good people. But at the same time, good people can do bad things and bad people can do good things. We see Zemo's not the best person, but he's done a few good things. And so I love this gray area. It shows you not everything's black and white. And that's one of the things I love about the show.
Yeah, I just think you could see Carly struggling with being Captain America too. Like he's saying like, you could be Cap, and she's like, not really. Like she's just not, she's not built that way. So she's struggling with her own like taking up of the leadership position that she's been thrust upon her. She really didn't ask for it, but she's kind of been thrown in this position. So, Bogz, your thoughts on Carly and about the serum?
Yeah, so I do like the way that is. At first, we see everyone almost ganging up on her in terms of Bucky and Sam and Zemo and Walker and Walker's other guy, I forgot his name. Like them five kind of literally walking, with the little girl there, walking up to the funeral and stuff. So all these heroes really against her. And then but if it was not for Sam's understanding or desire to understand her and to give her a chance, kind of thing. So I do like the way that he is even that he's going against everyone else's kind of thought process. He's like, no, she's different. Let me speak to her, that kind of thing. But I feel like Carly's dealing with the kind of and I say it quite a lot, but the balance of trying to balance kind of violence and her kind of what she's trying to stand for as well, a little bit like Walker, but just for different reasons, right? And you could feel kind of Carly's like her desperation to do that through violence, and you can see the problematic decisions that she's going through Sam, and it just kind of further increases the character development and the complex nature of kind of people's decisions, and it blurs the lines. You know, oh, is she good? Is she bad? It's the same thing. Walker's going through the same thing. So yeah, and at times she seems to be the villain, and there's so many characters going against her, but Sam's sympathy is there to help us put the focus on Carly to help us have sympathy for her. So yeah, I'm loving all the blurred lines, and because one scene you're like, oh no, I understand what she's doing, and then next thing, oh look, but she's killing people. So it's the complex nature of each character, like, because even just an overall story, like Sam and Bucky, although they're in it a lot, but they're not the main focus of this episode. It's Carly, it's Walker, it's their guys' kind of story, really. This, it's their character development. So yeah, I found that all interesting. They're kind of going through the same issues, but they're different kind of sides of the spectrum.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I would even say, like, I would agree with you 1,000%. I would say it's a little bit more Walkers, because I think there's a lot, you could just see kind of it slowly building throughout the episode. As soon as he comes in, not that much longer after this, but he comes into the next scene. But Aisha, your thoughts about Carly and their conversation about the serum, because you can see that she's not 100% sure about giving more people the serum. She's not 100% sure on board about it. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely agree with what Bogz said 100%. We have to remember, they don't specifically say her name, I don't think, but Carly is very young, and she's giving this power and she's giving this responsibility. And I think she's a little bit in over her head. She doesn't exactly know what to do with it. I think they had a specific thought process in mind, but now we're seeing with the news headline that, hey, what we're doing is actually fast tracking what we didn't want to happen, and they also mentioned that there was a father of 2 that was killed within that building. And she's like, it's just a casualty for the greater good. And we keep hearing that, it's just a means to an end, a means to a greater good. So again, she feels like she's doing the right thing, just like Zemo feels like he's doing the right thing, just like Walker feels like he's doing the right thing. But at the same time, people are being killed, and that's broken down more with her conversation with Sam a little bit later on. So it's this back and forth struggle, and how far is she going to go, in order to get this issue taken care of. They said that they tried to wait for these essentials that they needed. It took 6 months. So they were like, okay, well, let's take this into our own hands and let's get it done. But they're not actually getting it done from what we're seeing. So, it's interesting to see how this is going to conclude. And, you might be right, Sean, we might not see Carly live through the end of the show. I want her to. I think she might, but, this might just take her down to a path where there's no return.
Yeah, I don't think she is, especially considering how dark the show is gone. I think she's going to be a casualty at some point. But I do like the fact that when Walker comes in, he's just kind of, you can see like his as soon as he comes in, he's super frustrated. Like, you can tell like they've gotten nowhere on their own, and the fact that now they're like, all right, let's go with Sam and Bucky and see what they got. And then they obviously see Zemo. And they're like, all right, you're coming with us. And they're like, nah, not really. So then Sam's like, I want to talk to Carly alone. And Walker's like, I don't think that's a good idea. And he's like, I can talk to her. She just lost someone. That's what I'm trained for. This is right up my wheelhouse. And then Walker's like, fine, I'll give you 10 minutes. But you can still see he's anxious. He really, really wants this mission to go well, because everything so far, as him being Cap, him getting that shield, has not gone well. He's been overmatched. He's gotten his ass whooped. Like, no one respects him. No one of merit respects him. Obviously, he's getting fans. He's getting all that pomp and circumstances garbage, but that doesn't mean anything. So you can see the decision he makes later on. You can see why he makes it, and the show does a great job of showing us his frustration. It's like, You could just see like he lets Sam in there and he has the conversation with Carly, and then when Carly is talking to him about like what her thought process is, you could see how she's kind of explained to Sam, this is how I am, and I just want to. She uses the quote. Sam pretty much said, if you're killing people, you're not making the world better. You're just making it different. And then she's like, you're either really smart or you're really stupid. But I think that's just a really telling part of Sam. Just like, hey, I get what you're doing. I sympathize with you, but you can't do it this way. And the fact that then Walker just like, F this. I'm going in there after 10 minutes. And then Carly kind of gets mad and thought Sam betrayed her, and she kind of runs away, and we'll pause it there. But Aisha, your thoughts about Walker coming in, and then the conversation that Sam has with Carly before, and then when Walker breaks that up.
Yeah, for sure. It's so funny. When you're a parent, there's this thing where your child gets to a certain age and then you have to start teaching them things, right? So you have to give them a knife to show them how to cut, scissors to show them how to, put things together. And you kind of have this point where you're looming over your kid while you're giving them the reins to do something. As soon as they do something that might hurt them, then you go to wait. And I feel like that's what Walker did at this moment. He walked in, he was like, nope. Bring it back. He's like, let's get back on track. I'm running this show. You guys didn't let me know that you guys are breaking Zemo out. Like, no, we're gonna do it this way. And I also noticed in this episode that I didn't notice in the other ones, he has this weird tick that he does, this weird agitation where he's always kind of on edge, and you see that his facial hair is growing out, a little bit more, and he's slowly losing his grasp on things. He doesn't have that control that he had in the beginning of the series. Yeah, he's slowly becoming more and more desperate. So I thought that was very interesting, and that'll lead up to, of course, what happens at the end of the show. And then this conversation between Sam and Carly, it was interesting because we finally had someone who stopped to say, okay, I want to hear you. I'm here to listen to you, and I'm here to help. Throughout this series, there's been a lot of back and forth. There's been a lot of people getting killed, but no one has stopped to say, let me listen to you. Let me hear you out and see what we can do, to come to some type of conclusion and to end all this madness. And as soon as Sam is about to get her to switch sides, that's when he comes in. And that's really the philosophy of life. There's been times where you think that we're on a right path and we're going to come to some type of conclusion to end, whatever suffering is going on. And then something else comes in and happens, and it says, it halts and it says, nope, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it this way. So I thought this was very interesting. Again, I do sympathize with Carly, but I don't think that this is going to end well for her. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see how this is summed up.
Yeah, it's funny how Sam wanted to de-escalate the situation to kind of hear her point of view, and Walker wanted to just barge right in, just like, yeah, let's just get her. Like, again, he's just showing you how desperate he is to prove he's worthy of the shield, and it goes back to that conversation of who's really worthy of that shield. You can see Sam's like, I'm not going to just go in there guns blazing. I want to actually hear her out, hear what she has to say, and see where she's coming from, because I think she can be reasoned with. And obviously we saw she could be reasoned with, and she was kind of wavering there a little bit until Walker just came and like, you're under arrest, blah, 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 blah. It's like, dude, de-escalate, listen. So Saul, your thoughts about that conversation?
This is another scene that shows you, like, out of these two men, which one deserves to be Captain America more. Because you have Sam who's like, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to figure out what happened. She may get arrested by the end of this, but we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to understand where she's coming from. We're going to get out of this with the least amount of violence possible, which is the way that Steve would want it if he was here. Where you have John Walker, you have the visual cues, like Aisha was saying, of him going down a path that you can't follow, which is he has that tick. He is not shaving. He's hairier and hairier the longer you go through the episode with his beard. Like, he's literally like, you could tell like this is a man that's not in control of what's going on. You see him later too, like when they're fighting the Dora Milaje, of him just like, they're not even super soldiers. He's very much having that imposter syndrome moment of like, I know I don't deserve this, but I'm doing everything because I was given this. So I'm doing everything to be this hero because I want to be this hero. And that's why you see kind of like I need to solve this problem. Sam can't solve it. He's just Falcon. I'm Captain America. I need to solve this problem. And he goes in and he ruins what, like, literally they would have had Carly. They would have had Carly, that conversation. She probably would have been arrested after the fact, but it would have been like kind of in a more peaceful way. But he's like, nope, I'm Captain America. I have to do it. And he ruins everything.
Yeah, because you could have easily seen, like, if Sam had a couple more minutes, he could easily walked her out. And it could have been over at that point. But no, obviously, I agree with you. So the fact that, like, he's like, no, I'm Cap. I should be able to figure this out. I should be able to solve this issue my way. And like he even told Sam, like, hey, I'll give you 10 minutes, otherwise I'm doing it my way. And my way, Walker's way, is like brought force, like, hey, let's just charge in, do what we gotta do, and get the mission done. And obviously it didn't work out that way. Bogz, your thoughts?
Yeah, I covered it mostly. You guys already covered everything else, but I just, that conversation was to create, obviously, sympathy for Carly. And you realize, oh, she's just like a little girl, right? She's just kind of lost in this whole situation, and she's taking the serum, and she needs that bit of guidance, which he's trying to give her. But obviously, just outside, like you're saying, like he's trying to, Captain America, John Walker's trying to get in. And Bucky was like, no, he's stopping him, physically stopping him, saying no. And he's obviously guilt-tripped Bucky to try to get in. That's your partner, blah, blah, blah. So I thought that was funny. And then, he's just getting, like you guys are saying, he's getting increasingly more aggressive. So he's slowly becoming the antagonist, just slowly, like each kind of scene. He's so far removed from the previous Captain America. So you see his, the conflict within him. I thoroughly enjoyed the John Walker character, his development. Yeah, exactly. I thought it was super entertaining because you could see he's going to flip at some point, somehow, some way, and even from this point in the episode, you could see something's coming. So, I thought he was his passive aggressiveness is just it's very pushy on every other character. So, and like great point there. So what you just said there, where the establishment is kind of not listening, and they are kind of forcing their way through to obviously Walker representing the government, the establishment. Him, I'm Captain America, I'm this, I'm that. These guys don't know what they're talking about. You have to do what I say, and then that escalates and creates more problems. So, I did like the whole kind of subliminal messages there. So, yeah.
I also like the fact that before he went in, he was like, "It's so easy for you, Barnes. You got that serum in you. It's going through your veins. It's like almost kind of saying like it's easy for you. And he's kind of almost a reflection on himself. It's like it's easy. It's super. Do you understand how hard it is for me? Like I'm Cap. I don't have this serum. Like I should have it. It's kind of like he's kind of telling us in an indirect way. It's like it's not easy for me. It's even harder for me. I don't have that serum, but I'm willing to do what I need to do to get this job done. So obviously after they bust in, they have a little chase, and then they lose Carly. They said it's kind of like a maze. It kind of does look like a little bit of a maze. And then Zemo catches up with Carly, shoots her. She drops the serum. He realizes, like, is this what I think it is? And we know what it is. And he starts destroying it, as well as we know he would. Because a lot of people are like, oh, was he going to take it? Fuck no, he hates super soldiers. He's no one going to take that damn thing. And then we see him get a shield to the head, which is super aggressive. Way aggressive. And then we see Walker pick up the last vial, and then he looks at it and he pockets it. So, like, obviously we know that's going to play a part later. And then the scene kind of ends there where Sam's like, oh, did we miss anything? But just kind of you could just see Walker look at that serum just as like he just found gold. Like, but
it was like Gollum in the ring, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point.
I think the camera tilted a little bit, and as he's looking at it as well.
Great point, Bogz.
Slow down as well.
But even still, with him fighting, he's not 100% sure. He didn't take it right away, because I still think he's not 100% sure if and why he should take it. Even though he kind of wants to take it, I think he just needs a little bit more convincing, and obviously we'll get there. But Sol, your thoughts about Zemo shooting Carly? It looked like she was going to meet her end at that point. Zemo destroying the serum, and then Walker finding the last vial of it. Your thoughts?
Zemo's a tricky guy, man. He can get out of those handcuffs. He escapes later. Slippery. But
that's a good way to describe it.
I literally, I was like, oh man, Sean's right. She's dying. Like for a split second, I thought, that's it. Zemo just fucking killed her. But we obviously see that's not the case. But it's one of those where you understand where Zemo's coming from. He's so against super soldiers. Of course he's going to destroy those. And of course there's one left that he didn't get to before getting friggin' pummeled in the face with the shield. Like, that was so aggressive, as you were saying. So it's pretty much that moment. And I think it wasn't him going, oh, should I take this or not with the thing. I think he was like, I'm gonna take this later. Let me just put this real quick in my pocket and I'll go take it when I'm by myself. Because I think too, his Hoskins is kind of playing his conscience. Because like you see where he believes in John Walker and what he stands for, and he's 100% behind him, but he's there like kind of giving like the counter opinions to some of the stuff that he's doing. And so what happens later in this episode, like it kind of, that symbolism of his, like, he's his conscience. So I feel like John Walker wouldn't want to do that in front of him too, especially because of his buddy, and they've done pretty much everything together through high school, through the military. I would feel like he's probably like, I don't want to take this without taking, like, in front of my buddy if I don't have a vial for him as well too. So I feel like it was one of those, like, I'm gonna do it by myself, and I'm gonna do it away from what is the person that symbolizes my conscience.
Yeah, because you can kind of see like him in his thought process. Like, I have this thing, but I don't want to take it because I shouldn't need to take it. But then as the episode kind of plays out, you can see why he eventually does take it. But that's why he doesn't take it right away. He's kind of like, I'm Captain America. I was given the shield for a reason. I shouldn't need this super serum.
Also,
but
he doesn't know what
the
super serum's gonna do to him. Like,
right.
it could take him out of commission right there. So it's like, I think he was like, I'm gonna take this later. I'm not doing it right now because I don't know what will happen, but I'm gonna take this later.
Well, I still think I think he knows what it will do to him. I think he's still struggling with the fact I shouldn't need this. I think he's from the mindset of like, I have the shield. I was given the shield. I'm good with the shield. Yeah. I should be good enough without it. But then when he gets his ass kicked later on, you can see like, you're not. So Bogz, your thought process of with Zemo and getting a shield to the head, and then all the serum being destroyed except for that last vial.
Yeah. I just said before, he's just super slippery, and I do like the way he just slimes his way in. Like, no one else could find her, but he just managed to slither his way in, and shoots her. I was a bit surprised at that. And then he smashes, like you said, smashes them, because obviously he is very much against it, so that's completely understood. Even I was like, no, everyone just save one. At least you use it for research or something. I don't know, but he ends up smashing them all. And then and then the Cap comes in. Like I said, I thought of Gollum straight away. I think the music even changed as he's literally like Gollum looking at the ring. Yeah, the angle changed, and I thought, and him pocketing one. And I actually think agree with what you said there, Sean. But I actually think he does need it, because obviously, like, we know he needs it to hang with everyone. But in terms of his conflict of taking it is often, I think, the ones that he knows, I think, that have taken it is Bucky, Cap, and the Flag Smashers. But he sees the Flag Smashers as terrorists. So I think that's also a conflicting thing that he's thinking of, like, oh, I'm going to be one of them then. So that's, but I just think generally he needs to take it. If he's going to hang with these guys, because obviously Sam's an Avenger, he's got the tech, Bucky's got the super suit. If he's going to be with these guys, he just needs to take it. So I kind of understood why he's taking it, kind of thing, and why he's pocketed it. But just that brutal kind of shield smash to the head. I thought, good, actually, you deserve that for being sneaky. And it was. But no, I thought, is this the end of Carly? Like, is she going to die here, or kind of thing? But she just kind of strapped herself up and she was fine.
Yeah, she's a slippery one herself. She got away a couple of times during this episode. Aisha, your thoughts about that?
So we know what Zemo wants. He wants to get rid of these super soldiers. So if he has the chance to kill Carly, he's going to try to kill her, which is what he tried to do. And then, of course, he sees the balls. What do you think he's going to do? He's going to smash them. So he's slowly, trying to, get towards the means to an end with, slowly taking out all these super soldiers. And Bucky, is he on the list? Is he not on the list? We'll see what happens with that. I think Bucky is on the list. Zemo's just waiting for the right time to get him taken out. But yeah, I agree with what you guys said, about Carly. And the thing about Walker is that he's been the top man his whole life. Now he's finally feeling a little bit of insecurity. He's not comfortable with what he's doing because he's completely out of his element with all these people who are much stronger than him, more powerful than him, more intelligent than he is, rather. So I think once he does get the serum, he does have to run it past Lamar, like you said. So like he does need someone to talk over. It's like, okay, what do you think? Should I do this? Should I not do this? Like, what do you think? Because Lamar is kind of the person who, we know he's this, ravishing, crazy dog. Lamar kind of has the leash that kind of pulls him back, and what happens when, the guy isn't there to hold the leash anymore and the dog just runs away and, wreaks havoc. So I think that's what Lamar is. Lamar is the person who's holding the leash. And, I think that's why he didn't take it right away, because he wanted to get that, that A-OK thumbs up from Lamar before he went forward, with that decision. And of course, he gets a little bit of push from some strong women from Wakanda as well. How that plays out.
No, I think he's Jiminy Cricket. Like he's on his shoulder, kind of just like, hey, what do you think, Battlestar? What's going on here? And because it's even him that kind of convinces him to like let Sam talk to Carl in the first place, because he was straight up against it, and it's like Lamar's like, well, wait a second, he maybe he could do it, and then he's like, all right, 10 minutes, all right. So like you're right, they do kind of have that relationship, and that is probably one of the reasons why he waits to take it, because he wants to have a conversation with Lamar to kind of see, hey, what would you do? Like, would you do it? So I mean, we'll get to that part in a second, but obviously after that, Carly, is strapping herself up. And then she's kind of like, oh, fuck, we waited too long, and now we don't have any serum left. What are we going to do? We're stronger than them, but we can't necessarily fight them all off. And then the power broker texts and is like, if you don't give me this damn serum, I'm going to find you. I'm going to kill you. And then they're like, well, we can't fight two fronts. What are we going to do? And she's like, well, don't worry. We'll just separate them. So we'll just kind of we'll separate them. So that's kind of their thought process. So let's just really quickly go over that, because I really want to get to the Zemo's thing. Any thoughts about that conversation that Carly has with the two flag smashers and the power broker Texas? Bogz?
Not really. Just the whole power broker thing. You think you know who it is, but that's kind of too obvious, maybe. So I was just wondering, who is it? That was it really. But other than that, no, nothing really else on that.
Yeah. Again, we haven't seen who this person is, but he like Cap is looming over this show big time. Sol, any thoughts about that?
I just think I'm really down this theory that the power broker is either the Mandarin or connected to the Mandarin. And like I've said before too, I think that Agent 13
Carter.
Agent Carter. She's underneath the power broker. She's working for the power broker, and I think she's playing both fronts here. And Sean made the joke, goes, oh, she doesn't have an iPhone, she could be a villain.
She could be. I just don't want her to be the power broker. That would just be like, I wouldn't buy that as much. I'm hoping the power broker is somebody brand new.
Yeah, especially too because we know that she was dusted. I think she doesn't have she wouldn't have had enough time to establish herself in Madripoor to be the power broker. I think it was one of those, like, she went to Madripoor because she had nowhere else to go, and the power broker took her in, And as you see her when she's talking to Sam in that alleyway, her face, her knuckles aren't bruised. When she's talking to Sam later, she has a few scars on her face. She has a few bruises on her knuckle. What fight did she get into? Are we going to see that later on? Like, who'd she... Because she did say Madripoor is getting a little bit more dangerous. So, who knows what's happening there?
She was beating the shit out of all those guys in front of the warehouse. Not a warehouse, but the
unit
thing.
things,
Yeah. So she was kicking a lot of ass. So obviously she doesn't have any serum. So, you beat up a lot of guys, you're going to get scarred yourself.
But she didn't have those scars later. So there's something that had to happen in between if she didn't have those scars.
Totally fair. Aisha, your thoughts about that conversation?
Yeah, I agree with Soul. Someone's kicking her butt, or she's kicking somebody's butt. Something's going down, But this whole, who is the power broker? What is the power broker? Where is the power broker? I don't care. Honestly, I'm getting to the point where I don't really care. I know they bring her up here and there with these random text messages, but for whatever reason, they haven't gotten me to the point where I really want to know and really care about whoever this person is. If they really are a person, it could just be a figurehead. There might not actually be a power broker. They could just be using this name to intimidate and to streamline, what's going on within the match report. I don't know. So hopefully we can get that resolved. Maybe the next episode, see who this power broker is, because they still haven't gotten me with that. I still really don't really care.
Well, just really quick, I think the power broker is looming, but I don't think we're gonna see who he or she is until maybe the last episode, and it might just then tie into it. That person might play a bigger role going forward, not necessarily in this show. That person's just gonna loom. But so obviously we get to Zemo's on the couch. He's got a cold compressor on his head. Obviously, his head must be throbbing. And then he asks Sam about the serum. He's like, were you ever offered this serum? And he's like, no, I wasn't. Would you take it hypothetically? Because I just destroyed it all. Would you take it if you were? And he's like, no. And he's like, no hesitation. I like that. And then you could just kind of see, like, again, we were kind of talking about before. Zemo's kind of testing Sam just to kind of see where his thought process is. So I like that the show, for me, it's building to him getting the shield and taking on the mantle, because you see his thought process of he's going to be his own Captain America. He's the virtuous one, but he's going to do it slightly different than Cap. He doesn't have any serum. He has no desire to take that serum. He doesn't think he needs the serum. He's unlike Walker in that sense. So I love the fact that they had that conversation. And then obviously Walker busts in. He's like, all right, this is enough. I'm taking Zemo. And then Sam's like, the only thing you're running here is your mouth. And Walker's like, well, you know what? Should we have it out now? I'll put the shield down and make it fair. And at that point, I was like, oh man, they're going to have it out. And Sam's going to whip his ass and take that shield. But the Dora Milaje come in. And then they kind of break things up, and then he's like, well, I'm Captain America. You guys don't have any jurisdiction here. And they're like, we have jurisdiction wherever the hell we go. And then they have at it. And then he did the wrong thing, being super aggressive, not de-escalating. He puts his arm on her, and then they go at it. And then they start fighting. And then you can see Sam and Bucky kind of just like laying back, just kind of like seeing what John can do. And obviously, John's getting his ass kicked. And then Sam's like, we should step in. And then they do. And then Zemo just kind of watching everything. He's like, all right, I'm out. He leaves. Like a little slithery snake that he is. He's just like, I'm just going to leave while they're all fighting. And the fact that they get their asses kicked. Io disarms Bucky, which didn't see that coming. And obviously Bucky didn't see that coming. She just like kind of like does like a ninja like 5-pointed death on his arm, and it just kind of detaches. And then you brought it up before, so that Walker is on the ground, and he's like, they're not even super soldiers. Like, I just got my ass kicked by regular people. And again, it goes back to the conversation before. It's like, this guy should think he's Captain America. Sorry, I don't know what's going on around me. He thinks he's Captain America, but he got his ass kicked again. Aisha, your thoughts?
Oh, John. Man, yeah, this is the push that he needed, right? To literally get his ass kicked. So the thing about AO is that it's the Dora Milajes, they are set to protect the Black Panther, right? So when King T'Chaka was killed, AO kind of took that personally as she didn't do her job. You know, she is born, bred to serve and protect the king, the Black Panther, and she failed. So she took that kind of personally. So she's like, hey, we want to get this done and taken care of, and so we can go back home. So, you know, of course, John walks in. He was like, oh, who are you, you little pointy sticks? And they hand it to him. And they say, get down on your knees because you don't know who you're messing with. So I absolutely love this scene. And then the fact that Bucky and Sam were just like chilling, like, like you deserve that ass whooping. I thought that was hilarious.
Looking great, John.
Yeah, exactly. Looking good.
Looking strong. And you're right, Sean. I thought this was going to be the moment that they take back the shield because he puts it down. I was like, all right, here we go. Gonna do a little hand-to-hand combat. Let Sam show you, you know, what's really going down. And then, of course, you know, it gets stopped, but that's fine. And then, of course, you see Zemo backing up slowly, you know, exiting, which I'm like, you know what, Zemo's smart because if I see a whole lot of people in a room, I'm gonna be out too.
He's like, I got my own things I gotta do.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, the scene when Bucky intervenes, because I'm assuming he's thinking that AO is going to kill him. I don't think that AO was actually going to kill John. She was going to beat his ass, but I don't think she was going to kill him. I don't think the Dora Milaje worked that way, but who knows? I'm not really for sure. But we see that she's able to disarm Bucky, right? Disarm Bucky's arm, no pun intended, which is interesting because Bucky received this arm from Wakanda. They made him a new arm, but they put in that little safety measure just in case he resorted back. So it's kind of interesting, you know, going back to what you were saying, Sean. Bucky did have complete and utter trust and faith in AO, but she didn't have complete and utter trust in him. And you see that when she's able to disarm him the way she does. So I don't know if this is going to mess with Bucky later on. I think it would make sense that it does, you know, because it's going to bring him back to the place where he's like, damn, like no matter what I do, people think that I'm going to resort back to the Winter Soldier. I thought that was interesting. I think that's going to play out a little bit later for sure.
Yeah, and the fact that Sam was like, did you know they could do it? He's like, no. And you can see him like putting it back on is like getting the feel of like, I didn't know they could just easily. Right. So like, boop, 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 and then drop. Like how easily he could just be disarmed like this. But obviously he's a super soldier, so he still would be able to kick ass. But I agree with you, Aisha. The fact that like, hey, he trusts them, but they didn't 100% trust him. That's why they put that kind of fail-safe in there. And I love also the fact that after they kicked Walker's ass, one of them picked up the shield and was hovering over him. Like, I could take this thing. We just whooped your ass, and I could take your shield if I wanted to. And she's like, leave it. And she kind of just drops it, and he picks it back up. I love that little last little dig at him. Like, yeah, we got your shield. We whooped your ass. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. So I love that last little dig at Walker. It just shows you why he makes the decision that he makes, because like
technically that vibration is theirs, right? Technically, so they can't take it.
Yeah, but if they want to take it, he's powerless to stop them. If she really wanted to keep it, he could do nothing about it. And the fact that he's, like he said, they're not even super soldiers. I can't even beat them. And I think the fact that they're women is not said, but I think that's also part of it. Like, these women just whip my ass. I think that's part of it. I mean, that's just the way I look at it, but I could be wrong. Bogz, your thought about that whole interaction?
Yeah, so it was funny kind of when he first walked in, you're like, oh no, what's going to happen here? And then obviously the Dora Milaje come in, and as soon as he put his hand on her, I was like, oh no. He's getting whooped for that. And then he ends up doing that. And like you said, it was funny when the kind of everyone else was just watching. Zemo's just drinking. He's just got a drink there. He's just swirling his drink, just watching it. And then he acts his slippery self and gets out of there. So yeah, definitely smart thing to do. But yeah, just about the obviously the fight in there where when he gets disarmed with the whatever is the 5-point like what they call it, pressure point maneuver thing. So yeah, that was because when the arm dropped, it was all of a sudden like he's in shock. It was like he was naked, and it was like he was in shock, as if like all his clothes just disappeared, even though he was fully clothed. But it was just like he was just in shock, like he didn't know how to kind of react. And yeah, I just thought that was cool. And I like the way he put it back on and like swelling back on, and he has like a connecting thing there as well. So I just thought that extra detail was cool. And then I did like the sort of way they gave him the shield back just to get that last little dig. And but this was the change. This was the scene. This was like the snapping point, I thought, for Walker. Obviously now he knew he had to take the serum because as he said, they're not even hero. They're not super soldiers. They're not heroes. But we'll see. Obviously, someone unworthy who has the serum and who's also Captain America. We'll see what consequences that'll have. What wider consequences they will have. But yeah, that was the point where it was like, yeah, enough. We can't hang in this kind of universe without with these other characters without taking that serum. So
I just love him like just sitting on the floor, just like they're super soldiers. What am I gonna do? It's like, well, you being the aggressor. This is what you get.
But that's another. Sorry, one last point. That was another thing that Saul mentioned. That again, the establishment coming in. With Sam and Carly, and then now with Dora Milaje, both minorities as well, like trying to force your way physically over these guys, and then them, and then you taking a whooping, and then you in effect cheating to try and beat them now. So I just find it all a little interesting. These little sort of things definitely don't get missed. So yeah, I do appreciate the storytelling arcs with this.
Well, yeah, it goes back to like if you want to say Walker's like a cop, he should be coming in there trying to de-escalate the situation. Like, hey, let's have a conversation. You want Zemo, I want Zemo. We kind of want the same thing. Let's talk it out instead of just like, hey, what are you doing here with your little pointy sticks? Get out of here. You ain't got no jurisdiction. Get the fuck out of here. And then they kind of show him like, not only do we have jurisdiction, we're gonna whoop your ass. And we could take your shield, and there's nothing you and your boy could do about it. And I just love that they put him in this place. And then obviously, you're right, Bogz. That's like kind of like his like, I can't even beat these people. What else am I like? What can I do here?
Random people. For all he knows, they were just random people that came in.
Yeah.
And you got whooped.
These women just whoop my ass. What do you want me to do? Like, what do you want me to do? So your thought process about that?
Well, the fact too with the jurisdiction thing is when he's like, "You guys don't have the Dora Milaje don't have jurisdiction here," and he's saying that like he has jurisdiction there. Like that's so arrogant of him. Like, come on, he said last episode they're working off the books right now. They were like, as long as we get the job done, they're not gonna. So he right now doesn't have jurisdiction, but he's going over there telling other people what jurisdiction they have or not. So like I thought that point was very interesting there. It's like I'm gonna tell you what's up, even though he's in the wrong as well. And then I love to just again the facial acting the acting that's happening without dialogue, where you have Sebastian Stan's face there, where he's just like, I trusted you so much. Like, we had this connection in Wakanda. You saved me, but you don't trust me. And he's realizing that, and you can see it on his face, the shock that the arm is off of him, that they created that part, that they don't trust him, that facial expression there. And then also Hoskins' facial expression when his boy's going, they're not even super soldiers. And you can see, like, he's like, oh no, something. He could tell that something's wrong with his boy because they've been friends since high school. And like we said, he's not shaving, he's not any of that. And when you have a best friend that you've been best friends for years, you can tell when something's wrong with them. And you can tell that Hoskins can tell that something's wrong with John Walker right now, even if he doesn't know exactly what it is.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, my boy got his ass whooped. He not in his right state of mind. So I love how they kind of cut from that to them having a drink, and then I love the fact that the fans came up and asked him for an autograph, and you could see him putting like a false demeanor up, kind of like perking up, and then like, here, I'll sign your autograph, and then as soon as they left, like you can see, it's just a front. Yeah, it's just a front. And the fact
you see him doing a lot, he touches his forehead a lot.
Yeah, and just just like you can just see
a migraine or something.
Yeah, he can't deal with the pressure of being capped. It's getting to him, It's obviously getting to him. He just got his ass whooped, and then he starts having the conversation with Lamar, but like, hey, if you were offered the serum, would you take it? And he said, no hesitation. Hell yeah, I would take it. Like you know what that would do for us, man. You know, like how many people we could have saved. And then he starts comparing what the serum will do to Steve Rogers and to Carly and to someone like, and he's like, someone like you, John. You saved, you like, you have 3 medals of honor. A person like you, but what he's failing to recognize is a person like you with the temper that you have. Imagine if you were to take it. That's the part that we understood that Lamar didn't say. Is like, if a guy like you took it, what does that actually mean? It does enhance you. So imagine him with a temper without the serum, and imagine him with a temper with the serum, is which eventually what ends up happening. So I love this conversation that he's having. It just kind of seems like Walker just like getting validation. Like, yeah, imagine if I did have the serum. Imagine what I could have done. I could have saved more people. I could have done much better with the Flag Smashers. I would have done much better with the Dora Milaje. I could have done better with Carly. I could be the Captain America that people want me to be, that those fans that came by that want my autograph, who they think I am, but I'm actually not. So he's a shell of what they think he is. And I think he thinks taking the serum will make him whole. And I think Lamar just kind of like unwillingly gave him the thumbs up, like, yeah, take it. You're the man. You're still the man, even though you don't need it, but you're still the man anyway. So it kind of got validation of him. And that's kind of what John was looking for. Even though at that point he still didn't take it. I think he's like, I'm not going to take it in front of my buddy. But he kind of got what he was looking for. So, Soul, your thought process on that conversation?
Yeah, it's pretty much just very thorough there. He's looking for, and Dom Toretto, because he's looking for validation in his friend. And he's just there. And it's very much of that, like, I've been saying it, he feels like an imposter. He's having that imposter syndrome right there, where it's just like, oh, I'm going to fake it till I make it. I'm going to do what I need to do to be Captain America. Also, the fact, too, that they were talking about all the stuff we had to do to get those medals of honors. And a lot of times when soldiers have to go to war, sometimes they have to do things that they morally are not okay with. And sometimes they get awarded for that because they complete a mission or they get promoted to a higher rank. And so sometimes it's just like, oh, I did something that I'm morally not okay with, but I got rewarded for it. And in that moment, too, you can see that he's struggling with that as well. And it's speaking to, I think there is probably some PTSD for what he had to do, whatever war he's working in. And so I love too that they're giving that little fact there, because a lot of times when speaking real life, when soldiers come back home, they don't get the true care that they need, and they're not mentally or physically, but fairly much for mentally, like they're not given the care that they need. And so you can think this person's perfectly fine, and then inside they're rotting inside because of all the terror and trauma that they had to do. So I think too that this conversation was speaking to that a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. And I think he is a little bit broken, and then you could just kind of see it in this conversation. And usually when soldiers get those kinds of medals, it's not more or less of what they did, it's what was happening around them to their fellow soldiers, and what they have to do to kind of save them or get them out of trouble. And it's like, was I worthy enough than the guy who got killed that I had, or wounded, that I had to kind of pull out of the fire? So it kind of just like, I love that Lamar reminded him, like, hey, if we had that, then things would be different then, and it would be different now. So again, it's just the validation of like, yeah, you know, if we had it, Lamar was like, yeah, 100% I would take it, 100%. So Bogz, your thought process about that conversation?
Yeah, it was very interesting. So yeah, it was more the dialogue about the war stuff that soldiers mentioned there. So yeah, so you know, I won't get into it too much because, you know, it will be a political. I don't want to make it a political thing, but obviously, not being from the States, you know, we have kind of sometimes different ideas with what, you know, people from the States would have in terms of, you know, war and stuff like that. So, but what I will say is, in terms of taking the serum there, that might, yeah, you may have saved more people, but it's clearly, you know, they've not said it, but they could have killed a lot more people. Also, the whole thing that the show's done, where I think he said Afghanistan. I think they said in Afghanistan. So going, going to there. Okay, like I've just said, going into other people's situations, being the authority figure, being the representing the government, whatever, going into their situations and manhandling it your way, where really that situation it might involve complex issues, it might involve all kinds of things that you're not aware of, where they're labeled as terrorists, that kind of thing. So that that they're literally talking about soldiers, kind of overstepping the mark and going into other people's situations. And it's the same thing with war, that kind of thing. So I did like the sort of references there. I did catch all that, that I did kind of appreciate the complex dialogue and script writing there. So yeah, I did find that really interesting. But yeah, just him just literally, the other guy, he's literally in effect just patting him on the back and say, yeah, I'd take this serum. Yeah, you could do this. So I think that was just a final nod of, okay, like I need confirmation. I'll take this serum. He basically said, yeah. So that was it. And yeah, and because for his intentions, for his ideas, he needs to take the serum because he can't get anywhere without it, basically, in his mind. And
and plus he's tired of getting his ass whooped. I think he was just got fed up. Aisha, your thoughts?
I mean, you guys pretty much broke it down really well. Again, like you were saying, Sean, he needs that validation. He went to his friend. This man is so insecure and so scared that he can't make any decisions for himself. He has to have that validation from his friend, and Lamar was speaking. He was like, yeah, I'll take it. But he was speaking hypothetically. He didn't know the guy actually had some serum in his pocket. He was just saying, yeah, sure, of course I would take it, but he took that as, okay, yeah, then I'm going to do it. I mean, if my friend said that he'll take it, and he's saying that we could have saved so many people if I had it, then yeah, I'm going to take it. I mean, he's still looking at the Flag Smashers as they're a terrorist group. He still thinks that he's doing the right thing. That's the thing. He's not aware that what he's doing is, terrorist himself. He doesn't see it that way. He sees it as a job. And he's going to complete his mission, and he's going to complete his mission, by any means. So, this is where we're at right now. And, it's sad because, like you were saying, so he could be suffering from PTSD. We don't know, but we did see those little ticks. We do see that he's becoming unshoveled every episode. So, this could really push him to the edge. But I still, even with the ending, I still am not on the side that this man is evil or that he's the villain. I just think with everyone else in this show, he's dealing with some deep BS, and he's trying to maneuver his way of how to, come to terms with what he's dealing with in his head. Just like Bucky, just like Harley, they're all dealing with personal, emotional issues that were forced upon them, and they don't know how to deal with them in a way that'll come to people not losing their lives. So, and it seems like Sam is the only one who really wants to sit down and, come to some type of resolution, in a peaceful manner. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, in that scene, it also just reinforces that how John is just not meant to be Cap, because he's not his own man. He's either listening to what the government says without question, or he's listening to more. He's not using his own opinion. See, like he still needs validation from someone. So maybe that is part of his growing up, or maybe that's something that happened in war. He doesn't validate his own opinion. He validates opinion and approval from someone else, whether it be the government or from his wife or from Lamar, anybody else. Whereas Sam is just like, Sam knows exactly what he wants and what he doesn't want. He's like, I don't want that serum. No question about it. I don't need it. I'm my own man.
It's like he knows the difference between right and wrong without. Right.
Absolutely.
He doesn't know everything is like a big, like he's conflicted with everything. So no, it's interesting.
He's like, I don't need that thing. So then we obviously cut to Carly dealing with what she's doing. So she calls Sarah, Sam's sister, and just like, you know what, I love their conversation, even though it was short, because she's like, I thought I could trust Sam, but he's obviously working for Captain America. And I love Sarah's line, the fact that Sarah says, my world doesn't matter to America, so why would I care about their mascot? And it goes to kind of like, it's a subtle thing, but it goes to kind of in the black community. She's an American, but she's like, hey, where I'm at, what I'm doing, the rest of the country doesn't give a three shits about what's going on where I'm at. So why would I give a fuck on who their mascot is? I don't care. I don't. And Carly says, well, who would you choose? She doesn't really answer that, but she's kind of in the sense like, I don't care about that. Sam's definitely not working for that guy. And then Carly's like, cool. Well, I want to meet him alone. And if he doesn't come alone, I could just kind of meet him where you're at. And she kind of makes a point to say, like, I know exactly where you are. So if I need to, I'll come find you. And then when she hangs up, you can see that Carly didn't want it to get to this point. This is not who she is, but this is who she's become. What that serum, and it kind of goes back to the conversation that Zemo and I were having earlier. What does this serum actually do to you? It corrupts you. And we can see it's slowly corrupting Carly, where she blew up that building last episode. She's threatening an innocent woman this episode. And her kids. It's like, it really does, absolute power does corrupt, absolutely. And she's a prime example of it, where you took this innocent girl with innocent virtues and wanting something, and see where she has become what she didn't want to be. She's a terrorist, even though she said, "Oh, we're a freedom fighter." Like, no, you're really a terrorist at this point. You're killing innocent people. You're threatening innocent people. You've become what you're fighting against. So, I love their conversation, even though it was short and sweet. It was, and obviously Sarah calls Sam, and then he feels a certain amount of way, and then they meet. But let's stop there. Bogz, your thought process about Sarah and Carly's conversation.
Yeah, you mentioned it was subtle. It wasn't subtle at all. It was like a hammer over the head of like, yeah, America doesn't care about me kind of thing. So why should I, care, look at him as my mascot? So you could mean that, in terms of obviously race stuff, or you could do it social status as well. You could see her struggling financially. She couldn't get a loan from the bank, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I took that on as well. I did like Carly mentioned. I don't know the exact quote, but she mentioned, I spoke to your brother. We have a lot in common. I was like, oh, yeah. Okay, that was a nice sort of line as well. So, I just appreciated that. And yeah, it was. I did think I could see that Carly was disappointed in herself for doing that, but I did take it as an empty threat to get his attention. I didn't take it as, like she's really gonna hurt them or send someone else. I didn't personally take that. Maybe that's just me, or I'm not sure. But yeah, it was a tense conversation, and yeah, it was, for me, it was clearly just to get Sam's attention because she needed to get obviously the situation sorted. But yeah, no, I did like their conversation. A lot of kind of subtle, sort of dialogue that resonates, really smartly.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Bogz. It was an empty threat, but the fact that she has to resort to that kind of shenanigans, I think,
you're right. Is it the serum?
Is
it something that? Yeah. Is it? Yeah. That kind of thing.
Because like I agree with you. She's not trying to kill Sarah. She's not trying to kill Sam at all. But the fact that she has to resort to this kind of, lack of a better word, shenanigans, is the fact that she's disappointed in herself. You could tell as soon as she hung up, she's like, "Oh my God, what? Like, how did we get here? How did I get to this point?" So your thought process?
Yeah, it's pretty much just like I said before, it's that she's having to resort to different things, tactics that are not tactics that a person who's trying to do good things would do. So even though it was an empty threat, she's calling someone, she's putting fear in Sam's sister. That's
Yeah.
basically terrorism right there. She's terrorizing Sam's sister. And even though we know as the audience, she's not going to do it. And even later she says, I wasn't doing it. I was just doing that for attention. There's other ways to get Sam's attention that is not going after his family. And I agree with Bogz. That was not subtle at all. That was like, America doesn't care about me. Why the fuck should I care about America? That literally, that was not subtle at all to me. It was pretty much going, I'm treated differently because of my skin color here in America. So why should I care about who's going? And also my brother's not working for him because I know my brother. And so it was very much, I think, to where Carly has that connection with Sam that probably brought her even more, where later on we see her say, come join with me, because they have an understanding with each other. And the more and more Carly, either talks to Sam or hears about Sam, she's like, I like this guy. And that's why he should be Captain America, is because you can even have the quote-unquote villain be like, I like this dude.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, it wasn't subtle to me. Like I knew, like when she said that, I was like, I get. But for the show, it's kind of it's straddling this line of like, hey, we want to talk about it, but we really don't want to talk about it. We don't want to put it in your face. So they kind of set it in a way where if you're not looking at it in a certain way, it can easily just be a line. But
and
the
I think
show is like,
all four of us are minorities. We're like, yep, we feel that. We see that right there. And so It's probably, I would like to see someone who is white watching it and see if they got the same thing that we got when seeing that.
Maybe not, but they're doing it in a way where they can start to have a conversation without putting it in your face, like shoving it down. Like the show's having an agenda. The show's just bringing up things, which I really really like. Whether they answer it or not at a certain point, I'm hoping they do. I'm hoping a certain scene is going to happen, which we'll get to towards the end. But Aisha, your thoughts about that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, again, you guys did a pretty good job breaking it down. But yeah, I mean, like Carly said, she likes Sam. You know, she sees similarities into Sam. She doesn't want to hurt Sam. She doesn't want to hurt the sister. Yes, that was an empty threat, but you still went there. You know, so it's going back to the fact that she's young. She really doesn't know what she's doing. And now she's just spitting off threats, you know, to try to get whatever her goals are accomplished. And we still don't clearly know what her goals are at this point. But yeah, like you guys said, Sam's sister, she made it very clear, this is not our man and this will never be our man. You know, when you're a minority in this country, you're automatically born into a disadvantage. And she made that very clear, like, no, we're not going that route. And this is how it's going to be. But yeah, again, Carly, with these empty threats, when does an empty threat come into an actual threat? So she is starting to worry me. She is starting to seem a little bit dangerous. When you're scared and you don't really know what's going on, and you know these things start to happen, you know, people start to get hurt. So you know, I am worried of what could happen at the end of this series. She might die, she might not. I'm not really for sure. But we've made it clear again that Sam is the person that we need in order to get us to the means to an end. You know, Zemo is on board with Sam. You know, Bucky's on board with Sam. It seems like I'm still waiting for that moment. Like, I still need those two to sit down and have a conversation. Like, I'm really, really, really needing that. So I hope we get that very, very soon. I think we should have gotten it by now. But yeah, it's just, you know, reinforcing even more that, you know, Carly is not on the right path, and she's going to ultimately make things worse for her community and for her end goal.
Yeah, I think she kind of already has. Once she blew up that building, I think things just like it spiraled things out of control that she's eventually going to end up paying for with her life, I think, in my opinion. But just kind of like the last little bit of it is obviously Sam and Bucky show up in their gear. And then she's like, Carly's like, she actually asked Jim, hey, I want you to join me. They actually have a similar way of looking at things, not 100%, but she's like, hey, you know what? Come join me. Obviously, Walker shows up again as being the aggressor. And then it's interesting how he enters the building. I got some vibes of Captain America, the First Avenger, with his gun and his shield breaking through that door. I don't know if that was just me. Obviously, Lamar goes in first. He gets captured. Like, he is super bothered by it. And obviously, he takes the serum off screen. That's a really curious decision that we didn't actually see him take it. But we know he took it, obviously. When he threw that shield and it went into the wall, like, all right, he's enhanced now. So, the fact that they capture Lamar, they obviously the fight ensues. He's like, oh, what's the deal with all these knives? And you can just see, like, he has a lot more confidence in his fighting now because he's got the serum in him. And you can see that they have him, and Carly's going in for the attack. Lamar intercepts, and she gives him, like, this boom, and he goes flying into the pillar, and he's dead. And then he goes to comfort him, and then you can just see everybody just stops what they're doing, and you can see like she's devastated because she did not want that to happen. She did not mean to kill him, but it's just, you know, she doesn't know her own strength at this point. And then they all run away. Sam and Bucky go after them, and he just sees red. He busts out the window, runs that guy down. He says it wasn't me. Doesn't say, and he just murders him in cold blood. And the whole world, just like the title, the whole world is watching. And for me, I don't know about you guys, in the environment that we got in now, I just got some George Floyd vibes of just like this authority figure killing this guy in cold blood. He's asking him not to. He's like, it wasn't me. I didn't do anything. And he just didn't care. Just threw it down. And it also gave me vibes of Civil War in the sense where Cap was in the exact same position with Iron Man. And instead of killing Tony, which he could have, he just took out his armor. So you can see the differences between the two men. Exact same position. A guy helpless could have easily killed him. Cap went another way. Walker went the other way. And then that shot of him just standing there with the blood on the shield. It's like for me, it's one of the most powerful shots in the MCU this far. This shot here of the blood on the shield being used as a symbol. And now it's a murder weapon. It's like I don't even know what to say at this point. It's so powerful of a scene, a shot, to see him just looking around and just kind of taking it all in, and it was just really, really powerful. So Bogz, your thoughts on that whole thing?
Yeah, so well, from the start, I like that when they went to Carly, he took Bucky as well, even though she specifically said come alone. But I think for me it was like, oh, because they've threatened your sister and the kids, like I'm coming too. Like even he's just hanging back, looking really angry, like ready to kick off. But I did like the way he was there, and she's addressed it, and he's just still like there in the background. And then I did like that little fight scene between them. I think they jumped down and she like shoulder barges him into the wall and stuff. So that looked really cool. And then when Walker and Lamar got separated, it was something like, they're in that kind of that building. It is like a maze, and there was something a bit creepy about the way he was going through the building, a little bit horror-esque. And then I thought, because I established at that point, is he taking the serum? Because it's a little bit eerie. And then he throws a shield, and then I didn't know 100% when he threw the shield, because he's pretty handy with the shield, as he's shown before. It's when he pulled it out, I thought, okay, he's too strong here. And then obviously Sam's seen him obviously fighting, and then he said, what have you done? As in he's established that he's took it now. So and then just going to that end, and when she kicks him obviously into the pillar, and he kind of breaks his neck, and everyone just kind of runs off as well. Like no one really addresses it. There's like a minute, obviously they're all there in silence, but then they're kind of gone off on their own beefs, and then he catches up with him and obviously kind of kills him with the shield. And obviously dripping in blood, as you said. So for me, that was this is another like smack over the head, blunt metaphor, where the establishment is the problem. And he's using the weapon that's a symbol as and corrupting it in effect. So it was a bit crazy. And like you said, the George Floyd thing, when everyone had their phones out as well. So everyone filming it. I thought it's like one of them moments, like they're trying to kind of not parody that, but replicate that in this. So it was clearly like an authoritative thing, an establishment thing. Again, for me, that was all over this episode. The establishment overstepping their mark time and time again. But I do kind of like that. Like I do like the way Walker just comes in every scene and like forces his way through, because he's going to get whooped or something dramatic is going to happen. So obviously he is at this point he's becoming the antagonist of the thing. But I did kind of like his character journey, because we've got more of him, more of his story arc. What happened to Lamar. So I did enjoy the Walker kind of storyline and arc. So obviously we'll see what kind of. As well, we haven't really, I think Aisha mentioned it there, we haven't really addressed the show hasn't addressed the Falcon and Winter Soldier, just basically where their loyalties lie, totally. They still need to have that sit down. I do agree. I think we mentioned it before. That's a bit up in the air. And I just want to say about the Dora Milaje as well. Like, I get why they're there. Obviously, because they're supposed to, they're trying to, they've got an issue with Zemo, right? But I would have liked to known. I would like another reason why else they're there, so they can contribute more to the story. Because yeah, it's a good obviously you've got an issue, you killed your king, but I would like more them in the story a bit more, or people from Wakanda or other characters from there. So I would like to a bit more from there. Just summarizing, because yeah, it just seems a little bit just like not like that cameos kind of thing. So I wanted a bit more, kind of info about why they're there, and a bit more involved in the story. So because they're cool people to have in there. So but yeah, that was it.
I mean, I think we're gonna see them again. That wasn't the last that we're gonna see them, because obviously Zemo's still out there somewhere, and we don't know what he's up to. And
but I don't want it to
me,
just be just Zemo. Like, they want they're more than that,
That's
right?
fair.
So they've got so much tech, and they're so good fighters, like such good fighters, and there's so much more involvement they could have.
I mean, but for me, I'm curious to see what the fallout from this is gonna be, because now I can see the government going to Sam saying, this guy can't have the shield. Now it's up to you to get it and do something with it. I think the government's going to go to Sam now, which I didn't think before, but now I think, because now there's going to be everybody's going to see that footage of Walker killing this guy in cold blood, and the government's going to be like, that was our golden boy. Now we gotta
see Don Cheadle coming back, and
like, what are we gonna do now? This guy can't be. Just like a black man couldn't be capped before. This guy can't be capped now. He just killed somebody in cold blood. What are we gonna do about it? So it's gonna be interesting to see the government throw Walker under the bus, and then scramble to see, like, someone else has got to pick up the shield. Sam, it's you. So I think they're going to grovel to Sam now, too, which is going to be... I'm hoping that's the way it goes, because that's going to be an interesting conversation if it goes that way. But Aisha, your thought parts, I saw you were shaking, you're nodding your head in agreement about the George Floyd thing. So obviously we saw it the exact same way, but just your thoughts about that whole situation.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I completely thought about George Floyd during that scene. You have a man who's unarmed, who's begging for his life, and he's looked at as scum, and killed brutally in front of a whole crowd of people. And, I feel like in this specific series, the shield is kind of like representation of the American flag, which the American flag, it's a symbol of hope and prosperity and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, it's our country has a lot of blood on their hands. Not to get too deep in it, but our country does have a lot of blood on our hands, let's be honest. So that symbolization, I just pictured the American flag and, the things that it represents now in 2021. So I thought that was very interesting. And again, Disney, you went there, Disney. So I'm holding Disney accountable, because I'm like, look, okay, what you're putting in these series. Keep going with this, you know what I mean? Continue on. Don't just put it in this series because Sam is one of your main characters. Let's put this in all of our movies, Disney. If you want to take it there, let's take it there. So, I want to hold Disney accountable for, the seeds that they're laying in this series, and I want them to continue on with the messages that they're putting in these series, and hopefully it'll continue on into the films. So, but yeah, we needed that breaking point for John. He's been let up to be inadequate, but we really needed something that really make him snap. And in the comics, it was his parents being killed, but in this series, it was Lamar being killed. I really didn't want Lamar to be killed. Like I really did not want that to happen. But I understood why they made the decision, because they really needed something to push him over the edge, because he wasn't there yet. So it was pretty much, he had the anger and he had to take it out on somebody, and he took it out. Like I said earlier, I was like, am I watching The Boys right now? Like, this is brutal. It was hard to watch. It was very, very hard to watch, and it was very unsettling. So we'll see what ramifications, that happens. I'm still not on board that Sam will have the shield and take the Captain America mantle by the end of the series. Just specifically by the conversations that have been had with Zemo and Carly, and some of the things that Sam has said. He said in a past episode that he put the shield in the museum, but he should have destroyed it. I still don't think that Sam is on board to actually take the mantle of Captain America, and we still don't know why he didn't take it initially. And I really, really, really want to know his thought process as to why he didn't move forward with initially taking up the mantle. Again, you have Anthony Mackie. He's such an incredible actor. Like, please use him. Like, Sebastian Stan has gotten these wonderful moments. You know, we've really gotten to dive into Bucky's psyche. I really want that for Sam as well, and I'm scared that we're not going to get it in these next few episodes. I'm a little bit worried about that.
I mean, for me, and I'll get to yours, get to you, so and then we can wrap up. I think he has to take the mantle now. I think there's no way the world can see Cap's legacy represented in that shield be used in a way, and then for that mantle not to be taken up by Sam. I think Sam has to take that mantle now. In my opinion, sooner than later. I was saying last episode he should get the shield. In this episode, he's got to get the shield in the next one. He just has to, whether the government gives it to him or they fight Walker and take it. He has to get the shield. He has to take the mantle, because not only for his sake, but for Cap's sake. Sam would not want Cap's legacy to be tarnished in the way that Walker has tarnished it. He had the shield when he murdered that man. He's wearing the A. He's representing the country. Like, he doesn't want Cap's legacy to be tarnished in that way. That he doesn't want that to be the last image of the shield to be out in the public. So I think he has to take it, and I think he needs to take it. In my opinion, he needs to take it, and I think that the MCU world is ready for a Black Captain America, and I think our world needs to see what a different man than Cap being Captain America, what does that actually mean? What does it actually look like and sound like? So he has to take it. In my opinion, he just has to. So your thoughts?
So Aisha basically took the words out of my mouth for this part. It was seeing the symbol of America covered in blood. Mm-hmm. And it was acknowledging, and a lot of times, and especially too in school when we're learning history, we don't really take account or teach children really all of the blood that America has on their hands. Mm-hmm. What we did to Native Americans here, what we've done to other countries. We're always painting everything in a really good light for children because we don't think that they're going to understand the complexity and be able to still love their country even with all of the past that we've had. And I think too, just the fact of seeing, it was hard to watch. And I know going to like just stuff this year, last year, for years on end, like it's really hard to watch people who look like you being beaten up in that way or being killed or murdered in that way. And so it was literally like it was giving me flashbacks to those moments as well, not just George Floyd, but all of them. And like I said before, Lamar is his conscience is dead.
Yeah.
And so I disagree with you, Sean, on the fact that I don't think the government is still not going to be behind Sam in that way. He think he might get the shield, but it's not the government going to hand him the shield. I think because I could see, too, we've had Bucky and Madripoor being filmed. If you see the background, the government's going to see Sam in the background there. You have now Cap being filmed. So the American government's probably not very happy with either side right now. Right. So they might find a way to get that shield back, but I don't think they're giving it to Sam. I think Sam's going to go and take it himself, but I don't think it's going to be handed to him. And so I don't know where this is going, but I'm here for the ride. I really, really enjoyed and it was one of those like shocking moments. And I saw reviews of it with other people where they were watching it and like their jaw dropping in that scene. And it was kind of just one of those moments of like, as a minority in America, like we've been there, we've seen this. And now we're seeing it in the MCU, and I'm glad that they're speaking to real life in that way.
Yeah, I agree with Aisha in the sense also that Disney's going there. This is I was reading online that this is I think in the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken, like this got a 14 rating, which in America would be a MA rating. Like that's the first time that's ever happened on any of the Marvel things. So you could tell that they, for lack of a better word, they crossed a line with this episode. They went there which I was not like when I first saw it happen, I was like, whoa, they really just did that. This review went a little bit long, and I appreciate everybody who's watching for sticking with us. But I just think that this episode was there's just so much information in this one. There's so much character development from Carly and from Walker that I think it was just worthy of the length. But going forward, I really think that the government has to have a conversation with Sam, whether giving the shield or taking the shield or him having the shield. They have to have that conversation, and I think Disney is proven, and Kevin Feige and Marvel has proven that they're willing to go. They went there this way. I didn't think they would. They're willing to go there, so I'm really looking forward to the last 2 episodes. I'm hoping they're a little bit longer, maybe about an hour. The last 2 have been 53 minutes. I'm hoping the next 2 are a little bit longer, or at least maybe the last one is, because there's still a lot to unpack about Zemo, the Wakanda angle, the Flag Smashers, the Power Broker, serum. There's a lot of things that are still up in the air that we only get at most maybe 2 hours to figure out. So I'm looking so forward to the last 2 so much. This show has given me way more in 4 episodes than I thought. Even though it started a little bit slow, it is picked up dramatically. And I'm really, like Soul said, I'm here for the ride and I'm enjoying it. I'm just only sad that we only get 2 more. So, final thoughts, Bogz, before you end tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited for the last 2 episodes. I'm quite okay with the length. Like, I'm not expecting like longer episodes, because for me, like 50 something minutes is long. Like compared to the other one, some of the Mandalorian episodes last season were 32 minutes. So I'm happy with 53. So it's super exciting. Like you said, a lot to tie up. I'm not doing no predictions or anything like that, because there's just no point. You don't know, a lot to cover and stuff. And I don't know if I mentioned it before. I just want to confirm that this is definitely better than WandaVision. Just playing.
Really, you think so? Again, for me, it's like steak and pasta. I love them both. I just love them for different reasons. But but even if I agree with you. And even if it's just 53 minutes, that's fire. As long as it's not short, either same length or longer. Just not short.
Agreed,
just not shorter. So, your final thoughts?
I love this show, and I'm going on the Bogz train. I think this is better than WandaVision, even though I loved WandaVision. This is better than WandaVision, so I'm here for you, Bogz.
Hey, you're both entitled to your opinion. I like it. No, I like it both. I like them both. I'm not going to say.
I like them both too. You gotta pick a favorite though.
Ask me when the series is over. I'll say which one I prefer than the other. But right now, I'm digging both. Aisha, final thoughts for you.
I am not on the Bogz and Soul train. I do not think this show is.
No, you're not. Yeah.
But of course, it has to stick the landing. But as of now, if I had to rate it today, I would probably give it like a 7. So I think the show is good. Again, I still think the storyline is convoluted. I'm still trying to figure out what we're getting to. So these 2 episodes have to stick the landing for me. If not, I won't necessarily think that it was the greatest show. But for now, it's fine. I think it's a good show. But is it at the level of what we're used to with the MCU? For me personally, no, I don't think it is. Not yet.
Yeah, I think you're right, Aisha. It has to really stick the landing. The same way like WandaVision had to stick the landing, and I think for the most part they did. Falcon and Winter Soldier has to stick the landing to validate what they've built up to at this point, especially at this last episode. So time will tell. But I'm digging where they're at. So with that, that's our review for episode 4. Again, this review went a little bit long, but I think this is the most interesting episode of the 4. So I think there was just a lot to cover, especially with Walker stuff and Carly stuff. So I apologize for going long, but if you guys have watched it all the way through, I appreciate that. Thank you. Let us know what your thoughts are. What did you really like this episode? What are your thought process of John Walker going forward? His decision to take the serum. Where's Carly at now? Where's Sam? Where's Bucky? Who do you think the power broker is? Where's Sharon Carter in all of this? So again, still a lot of questions. We still don't have a lot of answers. Hopefully we get them. We better get them. Otherwise, I'm going to be mad. But also like, subscribe, do all those great things. Obviously, we will continue with these reviews. And we're going to also be looking forward to the next MCU show, which is Loki, which I'm really looking forward to that too. And we're going to do a trailer review for that, for the second trailer as well. So you can look forward to that on the channel. But until next time, when we review episode 5, for myself, for Bogz, for Soul, Aisha, great conversation, and we'll see you next time when we review episode 5. Take care, guys.
Peace.